question for you. Who here knows how to get pregnant? Well, I mean, that counts. That counts. It's your basic 5th grade birds and the bees lesson, right? We all know what to do. But what happens if you do what you know you're supposed to do, and month after month after month after month, you get negative pregnancy tests? Where do you turn? Who do you call? What do you do? What's wrong with you? Why is your body failing you? These are some of the questions that couples who are struggling with infertility start to ask themselves. As the months trudge on, what was supposed to be fun and easy turns to scheduling, it turns to tracking, it turns to waiting, it turns to worrying. All of the fun is taken out of it. You thought that having the baby was supposed to be the hard part. Getting pregnant is the easy part, right? I'm September. I'm a mother of 7 who once struggled with recurrent miscarriages. Because of my experience, I delved into fertility diets. I've spent the last 8 years studying fertility diets, studying fertility, infertility. What does it take to get pregnant if your body isn't doing it on its own? What do you need to do? Where do you turn? And what I've learned, the greatest lesson that I've learned, is that through medicine, through technology, and through all of the holistic modalities that we have available to us today, infertility doesn't need to exist anymore. There are so many different things that go into fertility. We've created a conference. What I'm talking to you about today is a conference that we're going to be holding in May. And in this conference, I have 8 different speakers, and I squeezed in as many speakers as I possibly could. Probably too many, but I did it anyway. And I could have at least quadrupled that, and every single speaker is speaking on a different phase of fertility. So we've got all kinds of different stuff. So did you have any idea that there were so many different factors that went into creating a baby? Something that's supposed to be so primal and so easy and so instinctive? So again, we're doing this fertility conference, and I want to talk to you today about who the conference is for. I want to talk to you about why you should care about infertility, even if you are not trying to get pregnant right now. And I want to talk to you about what we're going to be offering at the conference. So the first, who the conference is for. There's 2 basic groups of people that we want at the conference. People who are getting married and ready to start their family within the next 2 years, and people who are currently struggling with infertility. And the reason that we want the people who are getting married and ready to start their family is because we want you to be prepared. Because the pain of infertility is indescribable. But I'm going to give it a shot. Almost everybody in this room, or perhaps every single person in this room, has lost someone that you love at some point in your life. Imagine experiencing that loss every single month. That's what these couples go through. The grieving process never ends. The grieving process starts over again every single time they see that negative pregnancy test. So that's why we want them. We want them to be prepared. We want them to never have to experience this pain. We want them to be prepared, like I said, so that when the time is right, when they are ready, it is an easy, a natural, a primal, an instinctive thing, and a fun thing, because it should be fun.
We're so embarrassed.
Don't be embarrassed. So when I talk about being prepared, I'm talking about a few different things. But a lot of people think that the woman needs to prepare her body for conception, right? But you guys do not get off. You don't.
No, one intended.
No. I'm just going to go sit down. You are not off the hook. How's that? I have to be so careful in these. Yeah, I have to. Wow. Okay. Right? You gotta stop laughing, Frank. So, I recently read an article that talked about fetal alcohol syndrome and how they've now shown that the sperm can actually be the cause of the fetal alcohol syndrome. It's not always the mother's drinking that causes fetal alcohol. So, guys, it matters. The quality of your sperm matters, and what you're eating affects the future health of your baby just as much as what your wife is eating. So, fertility diets, a lot of people who are struggling think that being on a fertility diet is a curse, and it's not a curse. It's not a new thing. It's a time-honored tradition. Civilizations throughout history have couples have been traditionally put on fertility diets. Every civilization has foods that, in their own words, they call sacred. And these sacred foods are given to couples before they marry. And then while the woman is nursing, she's on these foods the whole time. And then while the kids are growing, they're on these foods. And this is so that their brains develop properly. This is so that they are the healthiest people that they can possibly be, so that they can carry on the next generation, right? In fact, the word honeymoon itself comes from this. Honeymoon comes from mead, which is a fermented honey drink. Couples were told to drink fermented honey for 30 days for a full moon cycle before they were allowed to marry. That's where honeymoon comes from. There's your tidbit for the day. And the reason that this matters is because we're talking about the next generation. We're talking about the future of Colorado Springs. We're talking about the future of the United States of America and the future of the world. And so the foundation that we are providing these kids matters a lot. So if you're not struggling, most of you sitting here probably have kids that are grown and out of the house. You have kids that are at home, but your family is complete, or you're just not interested. You're not at that phase of life right now. Most of you are not struggling with fertility. But why should you care? The reason is because the population of Colorado Springs is approaching 700,000 people right now, and of those 700,000, 21,000 couples in Colorado Springs are struggling with infertility. Can you believe that number? It's huge. How many of you know people who would be amazing parents, who would raise the next generation to be stronger than we are, to be better than we are, to further the future of the world, and yet they're not getting the chance to raise these children because their bodies are not conceiving? So far we've talked about pregnancy as the option or the out for infertility, but there are other options. We have an attorney coming down to be one of our speakers. She's in Denver. She's a fertility attorney. And so what she does is she writes contracts for surrogacy and adoption. I'm going to tell you a story. There's a couple, and they decide to get married. One is from India. One has dual citizenship in Canada and the United States. They get married. They live in Canada. They decide that they want to start a family. This is a gay couple, and so they each fertilize an egg. They find a surrogate. They implant these two eggs into the surrogate mother. She carries twins. She delivers twin boys. Happy family, everything looks great, right? Well, the dad that has U.S. citizenship gets a job in Los Angeles, so the family moves to L.A. This is very, very recent, by the way. It was settled about a month ago. So they move to L.A., and when they get to L.A., they decide, hey, let's get these boys U.S. citizenship. So the U.S. government says, well, which one of these boys has rights to U.S. citizenship? You got to do a DNA test, and you've got to prove which one of these twins can be a U.S. citizen. So they do this, but then they petition the government, and they say, come on, they're twins. They have to both have U.S. citizenship. So they petition, and it's a long, drawn-out process. Eventually, about a month ago, the U.S. said, all right, fine, we'll give citizenship to both of these boys. But the point is that there are so many different factors in surrogacy and adoption that you would never think of. So you need an attorney to help you out. That's why she's coming down. There are things like rights to DNA that you would never consider. Has anybody heard of embryo adoption? So this is a new concept, and basically what it is parents give birth to their adopted child. So if there's a couple who, for whatever reason, the sperm and the egg are not viable and they can't create an embryo themselves, they adopt an embryo. They implant it into the woman, and then she gives birth to her own adopted child. It's a pretty cool concept. And then there's my field that we're going to be talking about at the conference, which is the field of nutrition. This is what's nearest and dearest to my heart. I love to tell the story of the queen bee. Do you guys know about the queen bee? So the queen bee is genetically identical to every other bee in the colony. No difference whatsoever. and yet she's stronger, she's faster, she lives longer, she's bigger, and most importantly, she is the only fertile bee in the colony. And the only difference is what she eats. She eats royal jelly, the other bees eat honey. So what you eat matters for fertility. And while I won't be the nutrition speaker at the conference because I'll be behind the scenes making sure that everything is running smoothly, we are going to have a fantastic fertility nutritionist come down from Denver and talk to us. The other speakers that we're going to have at the conference, we're going to have a reproductive endocrinologist, a fertility doctor, and he is a local doctor here, and he has better success rates because he does frozen transfers rather than fresh transfers. If you want to learn more about what that means, I have a podcast interview with him, so go to Facebook and find the podcast interview, and you can learn more about that. We have an acupuncturist. Right now, it's study after study after study after study that's coming out showing the benefits of acupuncture and how much that can improve fertility for people. Like I said, we've got the attorney coming down. She's going to talk about laws of surrogacy, laws of adoption, and she's going to talk about some of the laws that the healthcare insurance companies in Colorado, what are they required to cover as far as fertility treatments are concerned. We've got a best-selling yoga author who did an 8-year fertility journey himself, and we're going to have a man cave because we want to take care of our guys at the conference, so we're going to have a man cave. So he's going to come into the man cave and talk about how to stay connected to your partner during this challenging time. The other man cave speaker is going to be a urologist who's going to talk about sperm quality, sperm quantity, how to improve the sperm. Another speaker is going to be a chiropractor. Our chiropractor is going to talk about heavy metal toxicity, how this affects your fertility, and how you can safely clean these heavy metals out of your body. Like I said, a fertility nutritionist who's fantastic, and we're also going to have a fertility hypnotherapist, which who knew that hypnotherapy helped with fertility, right? So it's really going to be a fantastic day, and I'm so excited. I can't wait. Our focus is on education. We want you to know what treatment options are out there if you're struggling. We want you to know that there are medical options and there are holistic options, and how do you bring them together and combine them? We want every attendee to feel empowered and to feel a renewed sense of hope when they leave. And while this is going to be an annual conference, we are going to be there year-round. We're going to do a practitioner directory so that people know where to turn if they start to have problems. And we're going to do podcast interviews, Facebook Lives. We're going to be there supporting everybody year-round. So if you want a family, we're here to help you achieve that dream. Are there any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Can you give us a sneak preview? What are the top 3 foods for fertility?
What are the top 3 foods for fertility?
Sure.
All right, so I could go on for days, but top 3 foods. There's a lot of superfoods out there. I combine maca and camu berry because, and you probably, I don't know if you've ever heard of these things, but these are superfoods. Camu berry gets inside your cells and cleans out cortisol. Cortisol that's been sitting there. Cortisol interferes with progesterone. And then maca gets in there and basically helps to raise the progesterone levels of a woman. And then leafy greens. Please eat leafy greens. More and more and more. The more leafy greens you eat, the better off you're going to be. Every piece of your health is going to improve when you eat leafy greens. So I'll stick with that.
More on the conference and logistics of the conference. So where is it being held, and how is the word getting out to people about the conference?
Okay, so where is the conference being held, and how are we getting the word out?
Yes.
It's going to be held at UCCS, Berger Hall at UCCS. How is the word getting out? Podcast interviews. The speakers who are speaking are putting it out to their list, their social media. I'm all over Facebook. Trying to do Twitter and Instagram, it's all mind-blowing to try to keep up with all of that stuff. But, and then a lot of speaking like this. So a lot of just going out and meeting people, and I'm asking everybody that I meet, when you meet somebody who is struggling with infertility, they are not going to tell you that they're struggling. So you have to find a way to say, hey, guess what? This is coming. If you know couples in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, you know plenty of couples who are struggling right now.
I have a follow-up question as well, because we know, and I don't want to be political, I don't want to be as political at all, but the abortion issue is screaming all over anywhere that you want to look as far as me. Why isn't your issue more known, and what's the struggle with getting people? Is there an embarrassment issue for couples and et cetera? What is it that keeps people from knowing this many people are having problems with fertility?
So I'm just going to kind of summarize it to make sure I understand. You want to know basically why we're not talking more about infertility.
Yes.
Why people don't know that it's such a huge problem.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of shame. There's a shame in infertility. That's why they're not going to tell you that they're struggling. Imagine being a woman who can't get pregnant. Are you a woman? Do you feel like a woman? Do you feel like you're broken? Like something is wrong with you? Why would you talk about that?
Imagine being a man who can't get his wife pregnant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Imagine being the man who can't impregnate his wife. Yeah. Shame. It's deep. Do we have a question over here?
Yeah, my question is are you personally very pro-life?
Am I personally pro-life?
Yes.
I think I'm going to leave my politics out. I'm going to leave my politics out of it.
My question involves the in vitro, where people who have in vitro sometimes fertilize several eggs, and then they abort certain ones and let certain ones grow. That, to me personally, is an issue. I don't consider it politics. I consider it important.
So you're saying that when they do an egg retrieval, they often fertilize.
Okay, 4 eggs get fertilized. In some clinics, they will selectively abort certain ones and
Right.
just let 1 or 2 grow. And for a white person, that matters to me.
So basically, if they retrieve 4 eggs, if they fertilize all 4 eggs, and some of them are not growing as well as some of the others, they choose the ones that are growing more healthy and are more likely to be a healthy baby. And then what do they do with the others? You're right, they do often abort them, let them die, things like that. That's part of the embryo adoption program. Sometimes they'll use those embryos for the embryo adoption program. But how I feel about that personally it's not really my place. So.
That was the intent of my question. The intent of the question is whether or not women would selectively abort.
I don't believe they have a choice whether or not to selectively abort, because what would they do with all of them? Because they can't implant they've realized how irresponsible it is to implant multiple embryos. And so, like our clinic here in town, their goal is 1 healthy baby. And so they often don't implant more than 1 embryo. Are we good? All right.
That sucked the air out of the room. Thank you for being honest.
So how can we get the word out?
So how can you get the word out? I have brochures, so please, if you have a brick and mortar business and you'd be willing to put some brochures out, please see me. I've got like 1,000 out in my car. So I would love to give them to you. How do we get the word out? We're putting ads in papers. We're getting a billboard on I-25. We're getting all kinds of stuff. But to visit us, come to the website, coloradofertilityconference.com. Find us on Facebook. Just search for Colorado's... there goes mine. Ability to talk. Colorado Springs Fertility Conference. And we're all over, all the social media, whatever. But you can get your tickets. And we're doing an ultimate fertility package giveaway, which includes a free cycle of IVF. It includes acupuncture, nutrition. It's over a $10,000 value. So somebody who comes to the conference is going to win a $10,000 value prize, including a free cycle of IVF. So.
I may come just to that.
Okay. If you feel like having hormone shots, and sounds like fun to me, right?